Well, let me tell you a little bit about the 2-week trip that we have gone on and how we actually did it, but what we planned. I'll tell you some of the things we had planned at the end that we couldn't do. But if you think of Glasgow being on the western coast of Scotland and Edinburgh on the eastern coast, well, we went between those two, and we started at Falkirk because we hired the boat, and that means rent the boat, but they say hire a boat at Falkirk. So the first thing we did was we went through the Falkirk Wheel, and then we went through the Rough Castle Tunnel. We made a turn to port and went through our first 2 locks. And from there all the way to Edinburgh, we didn't have any locks or any time bridges or anything that had to be open. And that was 33 miles to Edinburgh. We stayed there for 2 days. And then on the way back, we reversed that, but we got to stay at a couple different places on the way. So that was 33 up, 33 back. We timed it to get back to the Falkirk Wheel. We went through the Falkirk Tunnel, which is a pretty long tunnel. Then we got into locks 2 and 1, and then through the Rough Castle Tunnel, and then a ride down on the Falkirk Wheel, so our second ride on the Falkirk Wheel. We went through the control lock there. We went down and we went down to lock 16, and we turned around, came back to the higher base. We were pumped out as far as the waste system goes, and we refueled, although we probably could have made it, because now our trek to Glasgow consisted of 23 miles, so that's 46 total. So when you add this all up, 46 and 66, it's 112 miles for the 14 days that we had the boat hired. We didn't move the boat every day. We stayed 2 days in Glasgow and 2 days in Edinburgh. So that was nice to be able to have a little bit of break from it. And the trips range from a long trip, about 20 miles, to trips of just maybe 4 or 5 miles. On the way to Glasgow, you have to work with the boat movement team to be able to get through the first bridge going from east to west to Glasgow is the Bonnie Bridge. That's operated by the Scottish Canals, and a boat movement team works with the Scottish Canals and also the folks who are volunteers that do the locks. So we had Bonnie Bridge, then we had 4 locks to go, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and that was upbound on the way. We would be going up the river. And then we had a bridge called the Twecker Bridge and the Hillhead Bridge. And from there, we went to Stockingfield Junction, made a turn to port, and went down and had one more bridge called the Garskew Bridge, previously called the Clay Pits Footbridge, and that gave us a little bit of confusion there with the map and the timing. And from there we stayed in Glasgow at Applecross, right by the Scottish Canals headquarters. So 2 nights in Glasgow and then the way back. Now on the way back, we broke it up into 2 overnight stays, which was nicer. We stayed another night at Kirkintilloch, and then the last night we stayed at Auchensterry. So it made it a little bit less. We were moving the boat on the average of about 7 or 8 miles a day. We've had pretty good weather, and I will say that, you know, if those of you who followed us on the Great Loop, one of the questions we always had was there any place along the Great Loop that you saw that you might want to stay and live? And Rev and I really, being Texans, we really didn't find any place. And I will say that the one place that I probably could get used to keeping a boat in is up in the Sandusky area. We really love that marina and love that area. But I will tell you this, is that Rev and I, the more we got to know Scotland, man, we both said to each other, hey, we could live here. Well, if it wasn't for family and friends and all that, but it has certainly been a beautiful trip. along the canals between Edinburgh and Glasgow, and getting to go on the Falkirk wheel was just absolutely fantastic. Two parts that we had planned to do that we couldn't do. One is from the Falkirk wheel west to the Kelpies. Now the issue with that is that one of the lock doors was damaged. There was low water flow. They investigated it, and in talking with them now, once we're here, we weren't going to be able to do it. So that's why we went to the Kelpies by Uber, and then we walked back from the Kelpies. From the walk back from the Kelpies to our hotel there, right around Loch 11, was a 1-hour walk. But that is actually about 11 or 12 locks, depending on how far you go into the Kelpies. And they've got some infrastructure problems there. And in talking with some of the Scottish Canal staff and volunteers, they say that could be an 18-month project because they may have to make some new doors, lock doors. But Loch Lady is happy about that because that would have been 11 locks down and 11 locks up, so 22, add 22 locks onto the few locks that we had to do. The other part was from Stockingfield Junction northwest bound to Bowling, B-O-W-L-I-N-G, Bowling, and that is where the canal meets the River Clyde. Now the issue with that was it's 17 locks up over about 8.5, 9 miles. So we would be going 17 locks down, and the problem is that they only have staff to be able to do that, volunteer staff to be able to do it, and you have to come back the next day. So for Loch Lady and me, that would have been 17 locks up and 17 locks down. Now the reason I wanted to do that was because there is something called a drop lock there. It's the only one in the world that they tout that, and that is at the Delmure drop lock. It's actually, you go in, they drop you down, you go under a bridge. Once you're clear of that, they fill it back up. So a very unique lock, but certainly not worth 17 locks all the way up, 17 locks all the way back. And the weather the way it was, it's best that it didn't work out. So that's take 34 locks off of it. As it worked out, we ended up doing what, 16, I guess 16 locks if you count the Falkirk wheel as a lock. So all in all, it was a great trip, and we are so glad we got to do it. We'll see you next time on What Yacht to Do.